Wow! Spiciness all over. Welcome to Whisky.com, where fine spirits meet. My name is Horst Lüning. I'm the master taster of Whisky.com, and today we have the Highland Park from Douglas Laing, director's cut, here on my cask. And well, I cleaned up the shelves at the end of the year, and some quite weird bottles appeared, and this is one of them. It's from Douglas Laing and Co. And in the meantime, they have a different appearance, a different styling. This one is very, fragrant. Director's cut. This is the top range of Douglas Laing, or was the top range of Douglas Laing. Now they are split into two companies. And this is unchill filtered, bottled at natural cask strength, no coloring. This is wonderful, and this is 27 years old Highland Park. Really dark, uncolored, as I said. A gem of a bottle, and unfortunately the sealing on the top cracked. Oops, there's a paper in it. And I had no idea why this seal cracked. There was so many tapes in it, and the wax is lined with the plastic in, and it cracked. Yeah. So this is the bottle, uncolored, really dark, and you would suggest this is a sherry cask, as so often with Highland Park, but no. We come to this later. Douglas Laing and Co. Limited, being often of sound mind and regularly of ample body, are desirous to offer those Scotch malt quaffers or like-minded quality orientation this hand-picked and much preferred single cask revelation. We opine that this Highland Park, aged to 27 years, is a superior exemplification of the time-honored distiller's craft. This bottle is bordering on unique, being only one of 226 filled. This is 50.5 ABV. And have a look at the label. There's something very interesting stated. This is a distilled September 1984. 1984. And bottled already in 2012. So it covered some dust on my shelf. Cask is a refill hogshead. Distillery in a Douglas Laing reference 8169. And a refill hogshead. Hogshead that dark? Refill that dark? How can that happen? Well, there had been a time where not only the staves from the American standard barrels came over dismantled by ship from the US, also the Spanish casks, the Spanish sherry casks, were broken down into single staves and then shipped to Scotland. And in Scotland, they were refurbished and cut down to build hogsheads for easy moving, normal size, not too heavy, with all the content in it, 250 liters instead of 500 of the sherry casks. And in those times, it was quite normal that you use Paxeret for refurbishing ex-sherry casks. What did they do? Well, Paxeret is a syrup from, well, the grapes of the wine from which sherry is produced. They use this juice, heat it up, condense it, cook out the water to give a syrup-like paxaret, and this paxaret is still used to give the sweeter sherries this special sweet touch in Spain. It's still allowed. In Scotland, they use this paxaret, and with the tight proofing of the cask with high pressure, with pressured air, they pressed this paxaret into the porous walls in the staves of the cask to refurbish them, to re-give them a sherry note. And this was given up, this was forbidden by regulation in 1988 or 1989. So 1984, and this was the time before this ban of paxaret. And when the ban of paxaret came into place, then the whiskey became much more bitter. Coffee, cocoa. So the bitterness of the oak wood, the tannins, acted on the whiskey far more than people expected and thought of. And the sherry cask whiskies, they weren't that good. And so today people say, well, the old whiskies from the time at 1980, 1985, they are the best. Then they had used the cask for several seasons in Spain, yeah, and they reused it with paxaret. And therefore, the whiskey was much more sweeter, much more less bitter. So the paxaret has, well, its advantages. And then after the ban, and then they switched over and said, well, we do not use European oak any longer because first, the casks were so expensive with the high labor costs and the very few oak trees available in Europe. They switched over to American white oak from the US, forests to the horizon. A lot of oak is growing, and the American white oak is smoother, lighter, elegant, does not give that bitterness. So the sherry casks today have, I guess, 80% American white oak and not that European intense bitter oak. Yeah. Nose, honey sweet showing, barley, sugar linseed, and assorted spices. So a mix of spices. Palate, a myriad of different spices, late cedar, maple syrup, and more honey. Finish, now lightly spiced, but with cough drops. I need it today. Herbs and late baked cake. 50.7, not 50.5, as I said. 27 years of maturation. Today, such a bottle, it's an industrial cork, and they tend not to have this TCA smell. I think it's more likely to tenfold or hundredfold to have this TCA smell in a completely natural cork than in this glued cork. And those, a Highland Park, 27 years old today, single cask, I think you have to pay more than 300 or 400 for it. So today this one would be very, very expensive. Wow! Spiciness all over. Some fruitiness showing through. The honey, not yet. No. Little vanilla, yeah. But most of it is spices, it's herbs. It's incredible. It's not that sherry tone as you would expect. No, it's more spices, herbs, and not sherry. 50.7, quite intense, but mouth-watering. A second gulp, full covering my mouth, really mature, and herbs and spices all over, a myriad, as they said, and this light sweet cough drops. Yeah, very good. But for Highland Park, very untypical. So Macallan had some investigations. I dare to say Macallan to this Highland Park whiskey because, well, Macallan and Highland Park are owned by the Edrington Group, which is in the possession of the Robertson Trust, and this is a trust which gives out grants to students in the UK. So here we are drinking for a good purpose, herbs. And they made investigations. They looked into the growing of oak trees, and they found out, Bob Galgano from Macallan found out that there are differences where the oak tree grows, either on a dry place, on a wet place, in the north of a mountain, in the south slope of a mountain, in the south of Spain, in the Pyrenees, whatever. So there are differences in oak trees also, or despite the fact that they are from the same species, from European oak. But this one shows so little bitterness that either they used that cask for multiple times and then freshed it up with Paxaret, probably. But the Paxaret should give more sweetness in it. But there's this heavy herbs and spices. Yeah, no idea. Yeah, from time to time, I'm lucky to find such a gem somewhere covered with dust. It's already 5 years ago that this bottle, or this whiskey, was bottled. Thank you very much for watching. Stay tuned. As always, there's more to